This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Hi there, as this episode is released, the cricket season is now in full swing here in England. The sun's been shining an awful lot more than what it had been, and some cricketers will be feeling pretty good in themselves. They'll have started the season off strongly, yet some though, well, they'll have started poorly. They'll be faced with self-doubt. They'll be questioning how the rest of the season's going to pan out for them. Some might even be thinking of giving it a wide berth. Now this episode is a short bite again, this time taken from episode 72, where the host of Cricket Coach 365 podcast, Tom Jones, and I talk about cricket and its intricacies, the fact that it's a team sport, yet it's also an individual sport wrapped up amongst this. We also touch on the difficulties that batters especially come up against. Enjoy listening to Tom's thoughts.
We talk about it a lot within our club, so within a junior setting, when you're next in or if you're the first batter to go out to bat, it is literally that long walk to the wicket is, that's the worst feeling, I think, for the youngsters. And then if they're out early, albeit at a very young age, it doesn't matter because they bat for 4 overs, but the long walk back, if they've not done well, is what they least like about the game. And it is an individual battle at that point. So although you're contributing to the team, as an individual batter, it's you against the bowler, and then roles reversed. If you're the bowler, it's you against that batter. So it is that kind of almost unique set of circumstances that calls upon individual backbone and sort of mental toughness, resilience, call it what you want, alongside all the elements that people need to be able to perform in a team environment too.
Hugely. So obviously the name of the podcast is Demystifying Mental Toughness. What does mental toughness mean to you in cricketing terms?
I think it starts with the ability to come to recognise that you're going to fail far more times than you're going to succeed. So let's talk batting again. The main two technical parts of a game of cricket are batting and bowling. That's not being disrespectful to keepers, because keepers have a very important skill set as well, and their main role is to catch. But for batters, you're going to more often than not, you're going to not get the runs you'd like to get, and that might be for all sorts of reasons, some of which are within your control and some of which are not in your control, and that calls into question that element of mental toughness that your podcast is all around. As a bowler, it's similar, albeit you've got 5 more occasions. If you don't get the batsman out on the first occasion, you've got another chance, another chance, and so on in each over. You're going to bowl a few overs, but you might get hit for 3 fours, 2 sixes, and a single, and think you haven't bowled a bad ball. So what do you then do next time? And we've seen it happen more and more in the 20 over game at international level, that it's becoming more and more of a batter's game, and the bowler's getting smacked at all parts of the ground. So you have to have an ability to be able to accept that things are not going to go your way, and you're not necessarily going to perform at the level that perhaps you aspire to all the time. And in fact, statistics will tell you you won't do it anywhere near the amount of time that you'd like to. So it's coming to terms with that initially, I think.
So as a cricket coach, how do you go about trying to help youngsters sort of maintain a balanced perspective?
For me, it's about them remembering the good times and understanding that in the grand, big context of a season, that there are going to be probably more times where things don't quite go their way. So it's remembering the times which do, and remembering how that feels, whether it be one particular shot or one particular ball that you bowl or one particular bit of fielding or a catch that you take. It's remembering that sensation and holding those thoughts for as long as he possibly can. So yes, it's kind of almost a little bit of positive self-talk and a little bit of positive visualization, and having an approach which is about keeping things simple and just keep staying in the moment. So for youngsters, that is particularly challenging because their head is full of all sorts of different stuff. But it's trying to give them a structure and a process to allow them to be at their best even under pressure.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, you touched on something a little bit earlier where you said one of the hardest parts for a batsman is, especially a youngster, is when they're given out and they've got that slow walk off the pitch there where, yeah, I can imagine you've seen all sorts of body language and despair. How you then manage your own emotions and your thoughts is so difficult in those moments, I bet.
Yeah, I think the closest parallel I can draw to any other sport, a sporting situation, because I do think it is quite unique, that kind of walk out to the wicket, walk back when you're dismissed for a duck or you've not scored as many runs as you were hoping to, is a little bit like, and we're all nervous at the moment because of Euro 2000 and England playing Germany, and are we going to go to penalties? So a penalty shootout is that individual thing where it's you against the goalkeeper. And if you miss, then that walk back to your teammates is horrendous. If you score, then you feel like $1 million, and that's the closest thing. Albeit it's not like for like, it's the closest thing I can draw a parallel to going out to bat and coming back into the pavilion afterwards. I think kids are quite they can be very hard on each other, but they can also be incredibly supportive when things don't go well for a teammate. So in my experience of kind of 15 years of coaching juniors, if somebody doesn't do well, but they've tried their best, teammates are very, very supportive. So although that walk back feels awful, they will generally be welcomed by 3 or 4 teammates who will literally put an arm around them and kind of look after them and kind of make them feel a bit better. So that's the comforting thing. It's the walk itself that, a friend of mine called it the walk of shame, because that's how some of the kids do look upon it. And if they've had 3 or 4 games where that's happened to them regularly, it does take an awful lot of emotional resilience, mental toughness, and other stuff to continue for them to keep doing it.
So as Tom alluded to, cricket, well, it's a team sport. Yet it's got a huge individual element thrown into it. So it's a lot different from many other sports. And now with my musings, I'm going to let you think about this individual element and hopefully challenge your thinking. We're going to think about the batter who's maybe had a number of failures, or even just one failure for that matter, and how the batter can be overcome with emotion when this happens, and how their body language can often be appalling as they walk off the field, how they can think and overthink and catastrophize about the situation that they find themselves in. It then becomes really, really painful for them. They don't feel great at all. In fact, they feel pretty terrible. And if this continues for a period, they can go on to lose their enjoyment. On that particular day, their mood, well, it might not be good for the rest of the match. For some people, it might even carry on till the next day, or a few days. All in all, they're not going to be thinking about future opportunities to score runs though. They're going to be very, very down on themselves. If this is a familiar feeling to you, as a batter or even a bowler, and it can go on to ruin your day, a poor performance that is, please do listen on, where I'm going to set you a challenge. We're going to think about the example of the batter, perhaps the opening batter, who gets bowled out for a duck. Naturally, they're hurt, they're not feeling great at all. Yet, if they saw this situation as a challenge, what could they actually do? What questions could they ask themselves? Well, what they could do is, they could think about this question. Maybe not straight away, but certainly once they've calmed down. How can I have positive influence on the rest of the game? And if we're thinking about this from being a good teammate, or even from being a good captain, we're thinking about the team element to the game, not the individual element. So what actually could they do? Well, They could focus in on their body language, making sure their shoulders are back, their head's up, they're looking at the trees perhaps, around the ground, or the roof on the stadium. They could focus in on their energy, making sure that they move their feet an awful lot in the field. Then you've got communication, an effective communication, encouraging their teammates, supporting them, instructing their teammates as and when. And if this batter goes on to focus in this way, then obviously their coach is going to think about them in a more positive light, as are their teammates, and they're going to give their team a much better chance of success. I hope this short bite goes on to help you. Please do also sign up to the Mental Edge newsletter, which goes out every 2 to 3 weeks currently, where there's lots more musings, lots more thoughts, and a host of resources from other experts in the field. You'll find the details in the show notes. Enjoy your day. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.